Today we're going to cut up a brand new 4th Gen Tacoma, and in the process we're going to show you guys how to install this right here. This is the Tacoma Lifestyle 4th Gen Alpine Series front bumper. So this is a covert style front bumper. It's going to fit in kind of that lower grille part of the 4th Gen Tacoma. It is full steel, so you know it's going to be strong, and it is made right here in the United States and is available with a full powder coat. So you can option this bumper with a full bull bar. This is a bolt-on bull bar, so you can add this as you're going to check out for this bumper. It just simply bolts on to both of these sides and you get the full bull bar option on this bumper. This right here is the 30-inch light bar cutout that comes standard on this bumper. It's a single row light bar cutout, and it comes with all the hardware necessary to mount a light bar in this little slot right here. And then right below that light bar cutout, we got a hole for the winch. This bumper does come with a winch cradle, so if you do want to run a winch in your bumper, you have everything you need to set that up with this kit. This bumper also includes 2 steel 3/4-inch recovery points on each side of the bumper. So our bumper includes all of the hardware necessary to install it on your truck. It also includes all of the mounting brackets for your winch cradle and your optional light bar. All right, so when you order this bumper, this is how the bumper will come. If you do want to opt for the bull bar option, that will be shipped with it. And whether you get the bull bar or not, you will have all of the slots for the bull bar in your bumper, as well as for the winch cradle. So if you do want to add those things later, you can option those, add them onto your bumper. Now, if you don't want to run a winch or run the winch cradle, the bumper does come standard with this little cover that will bolt right onto these 2 holes, so you can cover up that spot where the winch would go. So right here we have the winch cradle. This is going to be a separate add-on to your bumper, so when you go to order the bumper on our site, you will be able to add this if you want to run a winch. It comes with this cradle and all the hardware necessary to mount it to your bumper and to your truck. So if you didn't want to run a winch on your bumper, we have this plate that is available. This comes with the bumper, and it will just bolt right to this little hole right here. We're going to show you guys how to install that, just in case you are running this bumper without a winch. You can install this on your bumper. All right, so when you are installing some of these accessories to your bumper, you are going to be given a lot of hardware. If you are installing the plate that covers the winch, you're going to be using this smaller set of screws and this nut right here and a smaller washer. If you're installing the bull bar, you're going to be using the much larger set of screws, washers, and nuts. So when you go to install the winch plate, if you're not running a winch, you're going to go to the back of the bumper. There's going to be this side that is creased. That's going to follow the little bend in the bumper. It's going to place this down, and then you'll have 2 holes in the bumper. That is where you're going to have your hardware go through, and that's going to hold this in place on the bumper. So here is the hardware for the winch cover. Because it is black, we are going to be threading it in this way through the bumper. That way you'll only see the black side on the outside of the bumper, and then this little nut is going to be on the inside. So to get this thing installed, you're going to go ahead and place this cover right here. You want to make sure that you line up the holes, and then take that black piece, go through one, get the nut started on the other side, and then we're just going to do the exact same thing with the other screw and washer. Grab the nut, start hand threading that, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten these down. All right, now we have the winch cover officially installed. Now we're going to show you guys how to install this bolt-on bull bar if you happen to option this for your front bumper. So the bull bar is going to bolt onto these 3 holes, 2 of them right up front and then 1 on the top, and that's going to be the same on both sides. We're going to be using this bigger hardware right here. It's going to be the exact same process as it was for putting the winch cover on. You're going to have your screw, washer, and then a nut. Since the black side is going to match the bumper, we're going to put that in on the top right here. And then this nut is going to go underneath, and we're going to tighten them all down. So this is the bumper with the bull bar installed. Just want to remind you guys, when you are installing this on your truck, you do want to make sure that you install the bull bar before putting it on your vehicle. Once you have your bumper configured the way you want it with the bull bar installed or this front winch plate, you're ready to start tearing the bumper off of your truck. All right, so we got the truck hood open. We are gonna start by just removing a couple clips on some things here in the engine bay. There's gonna be some clips here on the radiator cover and also some clips here on the air intake that we're gonna need to remove. All right, so here on the air intake, there are gonna be 4 clips we're gonna be removing. There's gonna be one right here, here, and then 2 more right here and right here. The likelihood of you breaking these is pretty high, so I just make sure you have some spare clips ready for any you do break. So these clips are push down clips, so you don't really need a plastic pry tool. Keep one in handy just in case you do need to pry some of these off. So just push down on the center of these and they should pop right out. It's kind of hard to see, but here in the middle of the clip, there's gonna be this circle. Just push down that. It'll kind of depress and then the clip should just pop right out. All right, we're now going to remove our radiator cover. So there are gonna be some more clips for this. You're gonna have one up here, one down here, one towards the middle, another one on the other side, and 2 more right here. Then also towards the front of the truck, there's gonna be 2 more. And we're just gonna press these in and pop these clips out. And this cover should just pop right out. All right, next we're going to start by taking off some bolts on the top of the bumper. So you're gonna have 3 10 mil bolts, one right here, one in the middle, and one on the driver's side. Go ahead and take a 10 mil socket and start moving those. There are also going to be a couple of wiring harnesses you want to disconnect. These things control things like the sensors on the truck, like front crash sensors. So we don't want to break those when we're pulling the bumper off, so we just want to disconnect the harness right now. There's going to be 2 connectors right here that we're going to disconnect. Then there's going to be a couple more on the bottom of the bumper. All right, and now we're gonna remove some hardware on either side of the fenders. And we're gonna have 3 10 mil bolts, one down here, one right here, and then one at the top that we're gonna be removing, as well as 2 plastic screws that you'll just take a flathead and unscrew. That's gonna be the exact same for both sides. So with these 2 little clips right here, you are just gonna get like a flathead screwdriver, go right underneath, or a plastic pry tool, and just pull them out. Just like that. And then now we're gonna hit these 10 mil bolts. There's gonna be 3, one down here, one up top, and then one at the very top right All right, now that we have all those bolts removed, we're ready to go ahead and pop this fender flare out. We're just gonna pop out this front half. Don't have to worry about the back half. We just need to get enough room to get this one screw that is holding the bumper in on this side. Once you have that popped off, there's gonna be this one Phillips head screw right here. We're gonna unscrew that, and then we should be able to get the bumper off on this side. All right, we're now gonna be doing the exact same on the other side of the truck. All right, and now we're just gonna pull this fender flare off just like we did on the other side. We're also gonna have some bolts here underneath the truck that we're gonna need to remove. There's gonna be 2 more 10 millimeter bolts on this side, 2 more on the passenger side, as well as a 13 millimeter bolt right here and right here. All right, we're now ready to remove our front bumper. There are gonna be a couple more connectors that we're gonna wanna disconnect when we pull this thing off. But now that you have all those screws, all those clips undone, you should just be able to pull this thing straight out. There's 1, 2. All All right, so on this TRD Sport, I'm used to working on Colby's truck where you have to disconnect a ton of stuff behind it. But once you undo these two clips right here, you actually won't need to disconnect anything else on the truck. So got the bumper off, and now we just have a couple more things we need to remove before putting this right back on the truck. All right, next we're gonna be removing the crash bar. There's gonna be 4 17mm bolts we're gonna be taking out. So 2 up top, 2 on the bottom, and it's gonna be the same for the passenger side. All right, there's gonna be 2 more clips back here as well. There's one right here, one right here. These are push clips as well, so just push down on them and they should just pop right out. If they don't, go ahead and get a little flathead. Get under them, pop them out, should be good to go. All right, now you have your crash bar out. You're now ready to install the bumper. So we're gonna show you guys quickly how to install the winch cradle onto your truck. Now, like I said earlier, he's not gonna be running a winch, so we're not going to actually install this thing all the way onto this truck. But we are gonna show you where all the bolts go and where you'll need to tighten things down just to get this thing installed if you do option to have this with your bumper. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is you'll have both of these mounts for your winch cradle. So to install this winch cradle bracket, you're just gonna take your carriage bolt. It's gonna go through one of the square holes right here. Once that's through, you'll go ahead and put a washer on one side and then a nut on the other. And you're gonna do the exact same thing on the other 4 square holes right here. Same will be for the driver's side. We are gonna just keep this loose right now because you are going to wanna keep it loose when you throw it onto the truck. Then you'll tighten everything once it's on the truck. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and place this on the truck. All right, so you might want to grab a friend for this next part. We're gonna get the bolts started on the side that mounts the truck. So we've left everything loose. I'm just gonna hold this up. Derek's gonna kind of hold it in place. And then this bolt is gonna go up through here. Once we have that, we're gonna go ahead and bolt in the passenger side as well. Next, we're gonna wanna start putting bolts through these 3 holes right here. So you wanna go ahead and line this up, throw that through. We'll go through the top. These top ones are going to be this gold hardware. The middle one is going to be silver, so that's how you'll differentiate the 2. And then we'll just make sure that we throw bolts on the back side. This is gonna be just like the passenger side of the truck. All right, now we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other side, and then we'll be ready to tighten all of this down. Next, you'll just take a 17 and go through and start tightening all of this down. We aren't gonna do that just because we are not putting a winch on this truck. So we're just gonna take this off and then we're gonna show you guys how to install the bumper. If you do have this, installing the bumper is going to be the exact same. All right, next we're gonna be taking this lower valence portion of the Tacoma front bumper off. There is going to be a handful of silver screws along the bottom right here. We're just gonna remove all of those, and then there's just gonna be a couple of push tabs right here. And then we'll get this thing off, and then we'll just have to do a little bit of trimming, but for the most part, you don't have to do any cutting for this bumper, which is actually a really cool part of this new Alpine Series front bumper. All right, so that was a total of 13 screws we removed. Now we're gonna work on the clips and get this lower valence piece off. So it's actually 14, I missed one right here. So these are the tabs we're gonna be working with right here. There's also gonna be more on this side. We're not gonna be reusing this portion of the bumper, so if you would like to just break them off, you can, or you can just kind of weasel this in and slide that valence piece out at the same time. Honestly, since we're not reusing this portion, I think we're just gonna get it off how we need to. We are going to be doing a little bit of cutting to the Tacoma front bumper just so we can get this thing to fit with the new bumper. So we're going to be cutting right here, these 2 places right up here, and then this corner right here. So only 4 spots are going to get cut, and that will give us all the clearance we need to fit our new bumper. Okay, so this is the piece that we just cut off. When you take that valence portion off, there are going to be 4 spots, one right here, 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 and here. You can cut that however you would like. You can use a set of trimmers, or the easiest way is probably to get a Dremel and just do it. But now that we have this piece off, we are ready to throw this OEM bumper on, and then we can fit our new Alpine Series front bumper. All right, now that we've done our trimming, we're ready to throw the bumper back on the truck. We'll take this, throw it on the truck, and then we'll go ahead and finish installing the Alpine Series front bumper. All right, we are now ready to install the bumper onto the truck. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get someone to help you out since the bumper is pretty heavy. Then you'll be taking 2 of the factory bolts that you removed from the crash bar, and those are gonna be going onto each corner of the bumper. And then we'll be using the provided hardware to install the rest of the bumper onto the truck. So you'll be using this M12 bolt right here. So you'll be taking this factory bolt right here. It'll be going through this side right into here. And you'll tighten that down. And then we'll be using the provided hardware in the kit to finish bolting it on to the frame of the truck. All right, so those bolts are really hard to show on camera, but essentially all you're doing is you're just bolting those same bolts that you unbolted back through where you mounted your crash bar. Once you've done that, your Alpine Series front bumper is installed. Just a quick reminder, if you're trying to add anything like your bull bar, your winch cradle, or light bar brackets, make sure you add those before you throw the bumper on, as it's a little bit hard to get to all these bolts when the bumper is on the truck. Thanks again for watching. If you guys want to pick up the Alpine Series front bumper for your Tacoma, go ahead and hit the link below and order yours today.